am a policy advisor with the Bureau of Justice Assistance. My responsibilities are specifically for purpose areas 2 and 3. I will be starting off our webinar today, and my colleague, Julius Dupree, who is also on the line and is responsible for purpose area 4, will be jumping in and taking the second half of the presentation, and then we will both be available to answer questions after that time. The mission for BJA is to provide leadership and services in grant administration and criminal justice policy development to support state, local, and tribal justice strategies to achieve safer communities. BJA supports programs and initiatives in the areas of law enforcement, justice information sharing, countering terrorism, managing offenders, combating drugs and crime, abuse and crime, adjudication, advancing tribal justice, crime prevention, protecting vulnerable populations, and capacity building. We go to the next slide, please. Thank you. As I said, BJA has 3 purpose areas. We're responsible for purpose areas 2, 3, and 4 within the CTAS solicitation. Next slide, please. Purpose area 2 is the Comprehensive Tribal Justice System Strategic Planning purpose area. And this purpose area is designed to assist tribes in engaging in comprehensive justice system-wide strategic planning, looking at your entire justice system in order to create a plan that will help you to improve the functioning of your justice system and the safety and wellness of the members of the community. The strategic plan is developed by the individual tribe with extensive support from our training and technical assistance providers. This purpose area is funded jointly by all 5 of the grant-making agencies that participate in CTAS. So BJA has the lead on the management, but it is co-funded by BJA, the Office of Victims of Crime, the Office for Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, the Office on Violence Against Women, and the COPS office. And the training and technical assistance that goes with that reflects all of these areas. Thank you. Actually, I wasn't quite done there, but that's okay. I apologize. So in this purpose area, not only do you have the opportunity to begin with a needs assessment, and then you're going to go into a planning process and ultimately come up with a justice system-wide strategic plan that will be submitted to DOJ. And once that plan is approved, you will have the opportunity to request priority consideration in a single subsequent year of CTAS. And what that means is that for those purpose areas that you're applying for after your plan has been approved that are directly related to your plan, we will do everything that we can within the available funding from Congress that year. We will do everything we can to fund those purpose areas in order to allow you to begin to implement the plan. Now we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Purpose area 3 is a BJA purpose area. This is our Justice Systems and Alcohol and Substance Abuse Program. And this purpose area can be used to develop, enhance, and continue tribal justice systems, including law enforcement, pretrial services, risk and needs assessment development and implementation, diversion programming, tribal court services, detention programming, community corrections, reentry planning and programming, and justice system infrastructure enhancement, as well as justice information sharing. It's also possible to use for responding to and preventing alcohol and substance abuse related crimes, including healing to wellness courts, prevention, intervention, and treatment programs. And you can also use this purpose area for programs or projects that combine, those different areas. It doesn't have to be one or the other, but it also does not have to be both. You have the choice of what your community needs. You can also use this purpose area to develop and enhance your ability to use the enhanced sentencing authorities authorized under TOA, as well as the Special Domestic Violence Criminal Jurisdiction authorities that were provided under the Violence Against Women Act Reauthorization of 2013. There is specific funding that the Office on Violence Against Women has there, but this is also something that if you're looking at addressing those authorities, you may want to, be doing something with your tribal codes or other things under the DJA funding. So that's an option as well. You can also use this purpose area to engage in strategic planning in order to, do something specific within your justice system if you'd like to do that. It's a very broad purpose area that really almost anything that touches the justice system, particularly the adult justice system, but also if you're looking at programming that supports youth justice needs, and particularly those that cross over into the adult population as well, so where you're looking at that 16 to 25-year-olds, young adults, older teen population would be a particularly appropriate use for this purpose area as well. Next slide. I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Julia Supri, at this point.
Thank you, Trish. Hi, my name is Julius Dupree. I'm a policy advisor with the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and actually my portfolio entails tribal justice infrastructure program, as well as tribal capacity building around tribal probation and reentry. And so I guess what I'm going to talk to you today about more so is the purpose area 4 category, which is actually also known as the Tribal Justice Infrastructure Systems Program and the CTAS solicitation. So purpose area 4 is actually really limited to renovation or expansion projects, but as far as we've tried to make it as broad as we could as far as what kind of projects that you can use our funding to renovate or expand on, and that's really tribal justice facilities in general. So this might include multi-purpose justice centers that include courts and police departments and corrections. It could include standalone correctional facilities, standalone police departments, standalone courts. It could also include treatment facilities. So if you're looking at correctional alternative or more community-based office or options, then you can look at our funding to maybe renovate an existing facility within your reservation to actually provide that type of treatment services. Also, we've been seeing a lot of requests for transitional living facilities. That's another allowable use. So, as you have folks in a community that return to the community from various institutions, you can have some sort of transitional living housing or facility set up to be able to accommodate that population. We used to do new construction, but we no longer allow for new construction for FY17, and there's various reasons for that. One being our funding is very limited. Each particular year we probably fund about maybe 8 projects per year with a budget of around $9 million. So that really doesn't go far as new construction projects, especially new construction as it relates to more secure types of facilities. And so We're going to be revisiting that in the future, and obviously that's contingent on, what our funding levels are. But for FY17, we're only allowing for renovation and expansion of tribal justice facilities. And so in addition to using our funds to, let's say, renovate or expand an existing structure, you could also use our funding to help support infrastructure costs. That would include site preparation, sewage, water. Also, what some people don't know is our funding can be used for staff housing, because we know that there are tribes are located in rural areas, and sometimes it's really hard to get staff because of the housing shortage in the rural areas, and also the different folks would have to travel to get to your particular facility. We definitely encourage creativity. With the more, again, the less secure options or the most cost-effective options. And at a time where really the whole department, if you will, is really trying to promote more community-based types of options, just because we all know that secure facilities that just warehouse offenders and don't provide any type of rehabilitative services are actually not conducive to returning offenders being successfully, acclimated or integrated back into the community. So we really do encourage those types of projects. So I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is that you must, if you're going to use our funds for renovation or expansion, there must be some sort of criminal justice nexus for the facility being renovated. So, let's say you have some sort of diversionary program set up, but there has to be some sort of court involvement. So maybe the judge or maybe a probation officer refers that individual to the facility, or maybe it's the type of thing where maybe police officers can refer individuals to a certain program. But one thing to remember is that it will have to have a criminal justice nexus in order to be eligible for our particular program. Next slide. So what I wanted to talk to you briefly about is we've had some new requirements for Purpose Area 4 this year, and I'd like to just highlight a few of those requirements. So for this particular solicitation, anyone who wants to apply for Purpose Area funds will actually be required to certify that the existing facility is structurally sound prior to using grant funds for renovation or expansion projects. Also, applicants that are requesting funds for renovation or expansion projects are going to need to specify whether the tribe is going to maintain current staffing levels or require new staff as a result of the project. Also, any applicants that are interested in pursuing regional projects that involve 2 or more tribes are going to need to submit documentation in form of a memoranda of understanding, letters of support, or any other documentation that demonstrates the support from the other participating tribes in this particular effort. Okay, so I'd like to talk quickly too about eligibility. I know even though we all the program offices do this coordinated funding opportunity, that there are some variances as far as eligibility criteria is concerned. So for all the BJA programs, only federal recognized Indian tribal governments are eligible for our programs. There's no restrictions on whether or not you receive previous funds from us for Purpose Areas 2, 3, or 4. But if you are coming back in for additional funds and you receive funding from us before, you really need to demonstrate that the goals for this existing project is complementary or supplemental to those of the projects that you already received funding for from BJA. And I guess one thing I'd like to really highlight is that, as you can see, I guess based on the information that Trish provided, in Purpose Area 3, Purpose Areas 3 and 4 can be complementary. And what I mean by that is, we've had tribes that may come in, apply for funding under our program to renovate an existing facility to serve as a transitional living facility or a halfway house. And that same tribe also may have applied for Purpose Area 3 funds to do the programming, or the counseling services under the Purpose Area 3 to do reentry type programming or some other type of treatment programming. So I encourage the tribes, as you all look at explore your options as far as how you can leverage BJA funding. Also look at the fact that both Purpose Areas 3 and 4 are complementary in that way. And so I guess the other thing I just wanted to highlight is that if you have applied for grants in the past and you are coming back to funding from us, we're also going to look at other factors such as past performance. We're also going to look at if you have a balance of funding left over from another grant that we've awarded. All these things will be taken into consideration. But I also want to let you know that if you do apply for complementary projects in the various purpose areas, all the program officers do meet. We all sit together in a meeting. We talk about all the applications concurrently. When I say we, I mean OVC, OJJDP, OVW, COPS, and BJA. We all sit down and we go through all the applications and we look for any duplication. We don't want to fund something. Let's say we don't want to fund Purpose Area 4 if you're relying on Purpose Area 3 funds, and if you don't get those funds, we're not going to fund Purpose Area 4 either. So we're going to look at both the fact that you're applying for something in Purpose Area 3 and to see whether it's complementary to what you're applying for in Purpose Area 4. So another thing I wanted to talk about real quickly is our grant writing resources that are available. What some folks don't realize is we do have free resources available, free training tool. You can actually go to our website. You can go to www.usdoj.gov/tribal. That's our tribal justice and safety website. And then you can basically access the online grant writing tool, and that'll actually take you through step by step as far as preparing for the CTAS solicitation. We're also going to be offering additional webinars. Our next one's going to be on January 12th, and that's going to be an OVW, Purpose Area 5 webinar, but subsequent to that, we're going to have other webinars for all the other purpose areas as well. We're actually, we have the schedule finalized. Right now, we're going to make sure we have our full package prepared as far as our registration links. And then once we have that, we're going to post it to our Tribal Justice and Safety website, training and technical assistance page. So if you go to www.usdoj.gov/tribal, you click on the training link, and then under that, it'll say webinars. You can click on webinars, and it'll let you know when our current webinars are going to be provided. We're also doing recordings of all of our webinars. So we've already done 2 webinars. We did for this particular series, we did the budget development webinar. We also did a general overview webinar. Our technical assistance provider is working on preparing those recordings. As soon as we get those recordings done, they're going to be posted to our Tribal Justice and Safety website, and we're hoping to have that information by either well, probably early next week, we should have that information posted. So I just encourage you to in order to keep informed on our latest events and all of our archive recordings, to actually visit that particular website. So the next slide here has my colleague Trish Staxton's information, so you can see her information there. If you need to contact her about anything policy related or programmatic questions regarding purpose areas 2 and 3, you can contact Trish Staxton. And then you'll see my name for purpose area 4. That's the next slide. And so if you have any questions about purpose area 4, please feel free to contact me as well. And I think with that, we can go ahead and then open it up for questions at this point.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you have any questions for the presenters, please type them into the Q&A box. Okay, our first question is coming from Adrian Active. He asks, can funding be used for planning in purpose area 3?
Hi. Yes, you can see funding in purpose area 3 for planning. And if you're looking to do around a specific department or, specific needs, for example, planning around developing a healing to wellness court, and that sort of thing, then purpose area 3 would be an appropriate place. If you're looking to do the justice system-wide strategic planning, to look at your entire justice system and how it functions as a whole, what's working well, what you may find you can enhance, then I would suggest purpose area 2.
Okay, another question from Richard. Are design build projects allowed in purpose area 4?
Yes, design build projects are allowed, but it has to be a renovation project or expansion, but not a new construction project.
Ruth Dudley asks, do any of the purpose areas support planning project for a multi-purpose justice center?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question?
Do any of the purpose areas support planning project for a multi-purpose justice center?
Trish, did you want to take that one, or did you want me to take that one?
We can kind of maybe share this one, I guess.
Right.
Go ahead and Julius, cover what purpose area 4 can't do, and then I can come back in with what purpose area 3 may be able to do.
Sure. So for purpose area 4, we don't have any category for planning institutions. We did used to do that in the past, but we don't currently do that. And actually, just to give you the quick reason for why we don't is because we don't offer new construction funding, and I know a lot of times when we had tribes that did planning, it's a lot of times the next step would be new construction projects, and so since we don't have that capacity, we don't offer planning anymore. Now the purpose area 2 is actually a broader, more justice system-wide planning effort. And so if you want to do justice system-wide planning, and that happens to include planning for a multi-purpose justice center, then that would be allowable. But again, it has to be part of a broader justice system-wide plan. So I don't know, Trish, did I capture that correctly, or?
Yeah, and the same would go for purpose area 3 as well. essentially, if you're looking at doing construction planning, the BJA purpose areas really are not likely to work well. If you're looking at, we have a building that we want to be able to perhaps expand and renovate in order to create a multi-purpose justice center between purpose areas 3 and 4. You probably could put something together that would be fundable. Just know that it is a highly competitive purpose area, and if you're stretching the limits of trying to make something fit, you're probably going to have a lower likelihood of getting funding.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, would our conservation department be eligible for a renovation or expansion project?
Well, like I said, it needs to have a criminal justice nexus to it, and I'm not sure what all the conservation department entails, but if it doesn't have a criminal justice nexus, then it would not be eligible for our renovation funds. But if that caller or whoever's asking the question could provide more of a definition of what the conservation, what the functions of the conservation department is, that might be helpful for us making a determination.
Okay, they did add on to that question. Brianne, she said that we consider our conservation department a component of the tribal justice system.
Okay. I think that's a great question, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk with our legal department about it. So if that individual could send me an email, my email information is on the slide, but I'll go ahead and provide it verbally as well. This is julius.dupree@usdoj.gov. If you can provide me with that information, I can talk with, and you can just give me provide a good detailed summary of what the conservation department entails and how it all ties in with your law enforcement or system, public safety function, then that'll be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Julius. Another question coming in from Carol Justice. Purpose Area 4, please define expansion of a facility since you indicated new construction is not allowed.
Sure. So with the expansion, I guess we would look at it like if you had let's say you had a correctional facility and you wanted to build a gym or a recreational component or wing, like you would be adding a wing to the existing structure. That would be included expansion, or if you have a courthouse and you wanted to add, let's say you wanted to add witness interview rooms, or you wanted to add a wing for a day reporting center or something to that effect. I mean, it would really be expanding existing buildings. I mean, it would not be building a whole nother building, for instance, I know some folks ask if they can build, let's say they have a police department and then they want to build a courthouse on the same campus. That would be considered new construction. So we would not, at this time, fund a facility, a separate facility as part of an expansion project. So it would really have to be part of an existing dwelling that's already been that's existing or already been established.
Okay, Eleanor asks, if you have an ongoing Purpose Area 3 and in 2017 you are applying for Purpose Area 4, can you also apply for Purpose Area 3?
Hi. Yes. There's no prohibition on having an existing Purpose Area 3 award to apply for a new one. Do be aware that in our review of applications, we do look at how much cash on hand is still in prior awards. There's not a set, limit above which we, won't make a new award, but I would say typically if more than 75% of the award is still unobligated, it's very unlikely we would make a new award. And when you're talking about smaller percentages of an active award still being unobligated, it's really going to depend on how the project has been moving to date, how many years it's been open, and looking at the big picture. What we don't want to do is have lots of awards sitting with a tribe that may, for whatever reason, not be using the funds they already have. And so that would be, the thing to be aware of is if you've not been able to move forward on the timeline that you had in place for existing awards, you're a lot less likely to receive a new award than if everything has been on an ongoing basis moving forward as scheduled.
Thank you.
Great.
Next
And I
question.
guess, oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to go back to the expansion question before. I mean, I know that it seems a little, it may seem unclear on what constitutes expansion or not. So what I invite folks to do is if you have, a proposed expansion project and you want me to take a look at it and just let you know whether or not it would be an eligible source of funding. I mean, I couldn't tell you whether or not it would receive funding, but I could at least tell you whether or not it would be eligible for consideration. Then, please send me an email on that. So, and then I could let you know whether or not we would consider an expansion or new construction.
Okay, next question is coming in from Denise. Discuss more about the strategic planning process and its development for a proposal.
I'm guessing this is a Purpose Area 2 question, and essentially the way the Purpose Area 2 process works is once a tribe receives an award, they are assigned a specific mentor through our training and technical assistance, which is all funded by BJA, so there's no cost to the tribe. And their mentor will work with them to determine, where they're starting from, what their needs are to be able to move forward, and then assist you in going through a process of doing initially a needs assessment to be able to identify both all of the existing resources within your tribal justice system and also any gaps and needs that are currently unmet in order to be able to determine, how to move forward. And, that information, they help you in putting together the surveys necessary both to administer within your tribal government and also to the community so that you get both sides of that picture. And then they assist you with actually digging down through that data and coming to conclusions about what the current status of need is so that the tribe has the ability then to look at some concrete data and decide what their most pressing needs are and how they want to move forward. Once that needs assessment is done, the TA providers will come out on site again to work with you to help you use that data to begin to formulate a plan for how you want to move forward in improving the functioning of your justice system and enhancing in the areas where you feel that enhancement is needed. And then you will go through the process of, using that information and, we do have some templates and so forth that are provided to you to go through the process of writing your tribe's individual plan. The TA providers will again work with you to help review that and help you to edit and get that in near final form, and then you would submit it to DOJ. And all 5 of the funding agencies who are a part of CTAS review each plan as it comes in. We will provide feedback, and then the plan would be approved, at which time you are in a position to request priority consideration in a future funding cycle of CTAS for those purpose areas that are directly related to your strategic plan.
Great, thank you. Next question, Bill asked, can an architect certify that the structure is sound for renovation and in what form?
Yes, this is Julius Dupree, and yes, that's correct. An architecture can certify that, and actually, we don't, we're not prescriptive in the kind of format that we need for that. We just require that it's certified structurally sound in accordance with the whatever building codes that the facility was constructed under originally. So that's really our only requirement for that. But we don't have a particular format or that we require for that. So.
Thank you. Connie asks, can Purpose Area 3 be used for re-entry programs, along with Purpose Area 4 to build a transitional living unit?
This is Trish, and yes, that's definitely an allowable use of Purpose Area 3 and 4 together.
Right, and this is Julius, and I'm glad that that again, we really encourage this kind of creative thinking. So just so you know that if you do apply for that, and you would have to be successful in both purpose areas. So I really encourage you to ensure that you really write strong proposal for both purpose areas, because if we see that they are linked and you score strongly in purpose area 3, but you didn't score strongly in purpose area 4, then it may be difficult to get the purpose area 3 funding and vice versa. So we just encourage you to make sure that you write consistently strong proposals for each purpose area.
And Julius, I'm gonna build off that because it's something that's important here, but also just in general, and that is to be sure that you clearly draw the connection between the two in your writing. It's probably one of the most common shortcomings that we see in CTAS applications overall is a failure to draw a connection between what is being requested in individual purpose areas and what is identified as primary needs in the tribal community and justice profile. And so it's, the same need when you're talking about across two purpose areas. Also always make sure there's a very strong connection between the needs and resources that are identified in your tribal community and justice profile, which connects to every single one of the purpose area applications. So that when we look at it, we can say, okay, this is a great plan, and I can see they've very clearly outlined the need that exists and why they want to implement this plan.
Thank you. Next question is coming in from Diana. Can we request percentage of funding of the yearly full court fee for the percentage dedicated to the Healing to Wellness and Purpose Area 3?
Can you restate that question? I'm not exactly sure.
Can we request percentage of funding of the yearly full court fee for the percentage dedicated to the Healing to Wellness and Purpose Area 3?
Oh, is this referring to full court software?
It does not indicate.
Okay, if it's referring to the full court software program system, that allows the interoperation between different departments, then yes, that would be allowable. If that's not the question, then if the person who asked it could restate, I'll be happy to try and answer.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Darren. Under Purpose Area 3, can you apply for funding to fund an existing new reentry program?
An existing new reentry program. I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, but reentry programming is definitely an allowable area under Purpose Area 3. And if you have an existing program and are looking to expand or enhance it in some manner, either serving more clients or serving a different population of clients, or some other way in which you're looking to expand or enhance what you're doing, or bringing in a different group of professionals that are going to serve the needs of that population, then those all would be allowable.
Ruth Dudley asks, under Purpose Area 3, is it allowable to request a tribal healing to wellness court as well as other items needed at our tribal court, such as a generator or maintenance fees associated with tribal court software, which are not directly related to the tribal health court?
Yes, you can certainly request things that are different, different projects that are directly connected to your tribal justice system. You just want to be sure that in the way you're writing, you make it clear exactly what each of the things you're requesting is for, and keep the application cohesive.
Thank you. Next question from Talia. Can Purpose Area 3 funding be used to train reentry program personnel to stay current in best practices in reentry and other relevant reentry training that is not BJA sponsored?
Yes. You just want to be sure, again, in writing your application and in writing your budget, that you include what those trainings that you're looking for are and what the costs are. The one thing to be aware of is if we look at those things and we know that BJA provides a very similar training of high quality for a lesser expense, then you might be asked to look at those trainings as a possible alternative to a higher priced training that was provided by a provider that's not BJA funded.
Another question from Diana Arnold. Can we request funding for the percentage of time prosecutor will be participating in Healing to Wellness Court in Purpose Area 3?
Yes.
Next question comes from Chris Logan. Do tribes have to work towards full compliance with TLOA to receive a Purpose Area 2 award?
No. It's not a specific requirement. If you are looking to implement enhanced authorities under TLOA, you certainly can use your planning process through Purpose Area 2 to do that, but taking advantage of those enhanced authorities is not a requirement.
Next question. Does OVW ever have any registration fees for training?
I am not sure, since we're not connected with OVW. My understanding is that generally there would not be a registration fee for a DOJ-sponsored training, but we would have to have someone from OVW get back to you to be completely certain on that. If you can send an email either to myself or Julius using the emails in this presentation, then we'll be happy to get that answer for you. Or you can just send it to, Julius, what's the general email address?
Oh, yeah, tribalgrants@usdoj.gov.
That's actually your best bet, is just to go ahead and send it there, and they will get the question to the correct person to get your answer.
And also, I'd like to mention that OVW is actually going to be doing their webinar on the 12th of January. No, I'm sorry. I have to. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's correct. It's going to be on the 12th of January. So stay tuned for the registration details for that, which should be posted within the next day or so.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Teresa. If we want to complete a law and order code review within a 2-year time frame, do we still need to do a 3-year budget? What do you suggest we do to be considered favorably for funding?
There's two possibilities. I'm just trying to figure out which is likely to play better with peer review. You can certainly put in a request for a 2-year period and just make sure you clarify in your application that 2 years is the amount of time that you need in order to do this, and that's why you're putting in a 2-year application. The other possibility is to apply for 3 years, and there's no requirement that you can't finish an award early if you've completed all of the deliverables. But I think in this case it would make more sense to request the 2-year period and make it clear in your application that 2 years is the amount of time that's needed, and make sure that your budget reflects that shorter time period as well.
Diana asked, are we able to get a vehicle in Purpose Area 3 for a Healing to Wellness court that can transport participants?
Technically, yes. And we have funded applications that include a vehicle. However, vehicle purchases are generally not a high priority in our funding. And so those awards that have included vehicles and have been funded, typically the vehicle is a very small portion of the total request, and always they have, in a very, very clear and detailed manner, explained why it is that a vehicle is critical to be able to meet the needs of the community. And typically it's more, larger land bases, more spread out communities that are more rural, where participants would otherwise be completely unable to participate. So if you want to include a vehicle, be sure, like I said, that it is a small portion of what you're requesting and that it's very, very well justified.
Thank you. Next question comes from Susan Hale. Is replacing a roof on a current correctional facility an eligible activity under Purpose Area 4?
Yes. I'm sorry, did they hear me? I think my phone is muting in and out here, but I just wanted to say again, yes, that is an eligible activity.
Thank you. Cynthia Toop asked, we are developing renovation plans to convert our previous behavioral health building in a justice building. In the building will be a couple offices for ICW, a couple of offices for family services, a satellite office for police, office for judges, office for attorneys, satellite office for behavioral health that work with the court cases, and court personnel. For the most part, all these departments are involved with the court system. However, I don't know that I can account for 100% of time spent with a court case for all departments. Would we still be eligible?
Yes, the answer to that question is yes. You all would still be eligible based on the components that were mentioned in the description, I guess, or it would be ineligible because it sounds like this is a overall justice building with treatment services, and I would think that there is some sort of justice nexus there, even if it's not the entire building, but for the most part, it sounds like it.
Thank you. Next question is from Jeremy Arnett. For Purpose Area 3 applications, are projects that combine both substance abuse and tribal court system needs scored higher? In our 2016 Purpose Area 3 application, lack of substance abuse focus was identified as a weakness in an application centered on tribal courts.
They're not supposed to be scored higher, and we have changed the instructions to peer reviewers to make it very clear that there is not a requirement to have a focus on both courts and alcohol and substance abuse. Also, I am personally on the line when the peer reviewers are looking through these applications, and I make a point of always telling the peer reviewers that these projects can be alcohol and substance abuse, tribal courts, or both, but they do not have to be. They don't have to be both.
Another question from Diana. For example, the court costs $50,000 a year to run. Can we request funding for the percentage dedicated to healing to wellness in Purpose Area 3?
Yes.
Next question from Richard Knott. Can a building inspector certify that a building is structurally sound?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question?
Can a building inspector certify that a building is structurally sound?
Yes.
Charles Connors asks, in reference to Purpose Area 3, we have a facility that we are looking at utilizing for a halfway house. Can we apply for funding under Purpose Area 3 for the facility licensing and certifications needed and required to open a halfway house?
Yes, as long as that's part of a larger overall project to operate the halfway house. Yes.
Okay, another question. If we dedicate a tribal building to establish transitional housing for reintegration purposes, we can use Purpose Area 4 to renovate, expand the facility.
Yes, like we've actually had in the past, we've actually had a tribe that has identified a house, or like a house on the reservation that they actually renovated to serve as their transitional living facility. And the reason why that's it's such a cost-effective project is because there's not the same level of security that you would require for like a detention center. So yeah, that is definitely acceptable to use funding to renovate an existing building on the reservation to serve as a transitional living facility.
Okay, we have a couple of more. We have about 5-6 more minutes. If anyone else has any more questions, to type in the question and A answer box. Looks like we have a couple of people typing, so we'll give them a minute to let them complete. All right, I got a couple more questions in. Eleanor, Purpose Area 2, when submitting the proposal, do you have to confirm community partners, or is this part of the planning?
If you have confirmed community partners, it's certainly worth including, but absolutely developing those partnerships, identifying the appropriate partners is going to be part of the process. You do, however, want to be certain that you have a core team of those agencies and or individuals who are going to be at the core of leading this effort.
All right, next question. For Purpose Area 4, we have a shell of a building that is structurally sound. Do we have included an architectural design of the building to renovate?
No, there's no need to consider or to submit any architectural design. Just the certification that the structure of the building is sound would be sufficient to meet our criteria for that particular requirement.
Okay, we'll take one more question. If we haven't gotten to your question, we do have an actual copy list of the questions, and so you will receive an email response via email. Last question from Denise. Can one utilize a mentor to facilitate community discussions and receive feedback en route to refining a strategic focus?
If this is a Purpose Area 2 question, and you're referring to the assigned TA mentor that I had mentioned earlier, then absolutely. One of the things that they can do if it will be valuable to your tribe is that they can come on-site at the very beginning of the project and help you to lead initial meetings and facilitate discussions in order to really crystallize the vision of the core team and help you to determine the direction and manner in which you're going to move forward with the project.
Great, thank you. I want to thank everyone today for joining us. I hope this was an informative webinar. You will be receiving a survey in regards to this webinar. Please take the time to fill this out. This helps our end help you make it a better webinar for next time. So please fill out the survey when you receive it. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email us. We will be here to assist in any way we can. Thank you. Have a great day.
Also, if you haven't downloaded the presentation, when we send out the link to the recorded webinar, you can download it from there as well.